Hello, good afternoon, good evening, and like every Friday, students have forgotten that there's a class today. Okay, so let's take advantage of this situation, and I have allowed you to unmute yourself. So if there is any question, anybody wants to ask, any personal, specific to you query that you have about any module, we can talk about that. Anyone facing any problem in any of the modules, any questions or any general confusion about PTE, you can ask it now.
Ma'am, how to get along with reorder?
Reorder paragraphs, see 𝗙𝗏𝗀𝗃, right? 𝗙𝗏𝗀𝗃 for reorders, first of all, go through some of the questions, at least 40-50 questions on the portal. Try to solve them. Don't judge yourself on what scores you are getting. Just keep on practicing 40-50 questions because that will make you comfortable with the questions first of all, and you will get to know the different types of questions that you can get in reorders. Then after that, we have uploaded 3 videos on YouTube which are about reorders. So there are 78 total questions divided into 3 videos. The videos are made with twin perspectives. One, in those videos, we have discussed all the strategies, the ways, the methods, the things that we should mark, how to read a reorder question, how to analyze it, how to understand it. Secondly, those 78 are the most repeated reorder questions that you can find in PTE exam. So if you cover those 3 videos, you will get to know all the strategies, plus you will be covering the repeated reorder content. And after that, how I advise is that there are 3 videos, don't watch them one after the other. Watch one of the videos and then try solving some questions, keeping in mind what you have learned in those videos, and then watch the second one and see how your performance goes after watching them. This can be a plan of action for those who are struggling in reorders specifically. Anyone else? Any question?
Sorry, I have a question regarding to read aloud. So from Language Academy, one of the strategies is like read 15 or 12 words, and instead of reading full, I want to know which one is better, because I don't know, for me it's like reading 15 words is a little bit like stressful because I need to count it and I need to choose the sentence like easy to read. I don't know if I don't know which one is like I'm confused about this.
There is no definite answer to this question that which one is better, because it really varies with every individual. So even the 10-word strategy doesn't work for everyone, and the full reading strategy doesn't work for everyone. So it depends upon what mistakes you are making in your read alouds, based on which we will be able to suggest you a strategy. So let's say you have got your speaking mock test assessed from a tutor, and that tutor has told you you can improve this, you can improve that, but the tutor has not suggested you to go for 10-word strategy. That means it is not meant for you. That means
Okay.
if you will use it, you're going to lose marks.
Yeah, I find like a little bit stressful. For me, speaking, I did 4 tests, and so each time I got a speaking, I passed the speaking part, but I don't know. For me, it's easy to read full sentence.
Don't be so confused, 𝗙𝗏𝗃. The answer to your question can be very well answered. Give a speaking mock test, get it assessed by any tutor, and ask a straight question. Do you think I should use full strategy or 10-word strategy? And you will straight away get the answer. But you cannot get an answer unless and until somebody checks your speaking mock. Because as I said, it only depends upon what mistakes you are doing, what is your strength in speaking, what is your weakness in speaking, that we can suggest you a change of strategy or not to change a strategy.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
No problem. 𝗙𝗏𝗀𝗀𝗃, you can just simply search Language Academy reorder videos on YouTube and you will get them. You don't need to search anything specific or get any subscription for that. Just search Language Academy reorder videos and you will find them. Akshay, why are you not making your reading notes yourself? Is this a thing to borrow? Anyone making reading notes? Anybody else, any question? We have Anu, Suganya, Vinod, Zoya, any doubts? Should you have?
To score more in reading, which modules do I need to concentrate more? Like, first of all, which modules I need to focus, whether it is read aloud or else. Like 45 marks comes from speaking, right?
What is your band score requirement, Trilo?
79+.
See, you should first be focusing on those questions for which you have templates. This is for everybody, whatever band score you're looking at. So you should be first making sure that you know each and everything about summarized written text. You're perfect in summarized spoken text. You're perfect in essay writing. By perfect, I mean you should know all the rules. It's not that generally I get a very good score. That is not perfect. So perfect means if you talk about SST, I know I have to write 50 to 70 words. I can only use ing form of verb. I cannot use first form of verb. Where are the commas placed? Which type of, how many words can I write in each blank? So this is about perfection. So you should know it by heart that SST means this, SWT means this is not allowed in SWT, this is allowed in SWT. This is called perfection. So you should first of all target to perfect in the questions which have templates. Then your second most important target should be speaking, because speaking gives the maximum contribution to all the other sections. So speaking should be something which you should do every day or at least alternative days, and it is not something you can skip for 4 days and 5 days in a row. After that, on your everyday questions list should be right from dictation and repeat sentences, because those two questions are solely based on quantitative practice. So if you are doing 40 dictations and 40 repeat sentences every day, no matter how bad you are in the beginning, you are going to improve because you are focusing on quantity in those questions. And then at the end comes reading. But the problem is we cannot do everything and then start reading, otherwise it's going to take a very long time. What I am trying to tell you is what your priorities should be, but with all these things, reading has to go side by side, because otherwise it's going to take a long time, and in that long time you're going to forget all the other modules that you have prepared. So reading has to go side by side, but your emphasis should be in this order on the other questions. I hope this would be helpful, Trilo.
Yeah, okay, ma'am.
So Zoya, the classes that we do for reading, those classes are the answer on how to improve reading. It's not possible that you're following all of the things that we discuss in the classes and still there is no improvement. It is absolutely impossible. So if there are no improvements in reading, that means you need to improve your focus and concentration. That means you're not, unfortunately, being able to apply what you are learning in the classes. The reasons can be you're not noting down, but you're not applying, you're not remembering. When you solve, you again solve with your method. You haven't changed your methods of solving. So you have to find out what is the reason for you not improving in your reading module. Self-analyzation is the best teacher. So that is for everybody, that you need to find out what is your problem.
Can we expect questions from the prediction files from Language Academy?
Always expect, but the expectation doesn't always come out true. But yes, if you ask about expecting, you can always expect, but there's no guarantee in that expectation. There are students who have come back and said that, ma'am, I got 3 to 5 questions, I got 4 questions, I got 5 questions repeated. And there are students who come back and say, I have attempted the exam 7 times and not even once I've got one single question repeated. So it depends. It's really, this thing is really luck by chance kind of thing. So don't rely on that. You can have an expectation within yourself, but don't let that expectation affect your preparation. You cannot rely on that expectation. It's really a wild one. But there have been cases when we have seen questions from prediction file, we have seen questions from the LA portal. Talking about reorders, we have got questions from those 3 videos that are on YouTube. A lot of times students have got these things, but not always, obviously. Okay, let's try and solve a test. So here is your first question on the screen, and you have 2.5 minutes to solve this. Try to test yourself in this question. This is what we did yesterday, right? Give me a second. Here is your first question on the screen. Make sure that you are timing yourself. It's most important thing for time management, that you time yourself in the practice sessions. And so first question, 2.5 minutes. Complete this and post your answers, please. All right, should be done. Post your answers, those who haven't. I just got 3. But well attempted 3 answers. Good. So this question was a good test of the basic rules that we keep on doing every day. The dash of successful senior managers do not closely follow the classical rational model of first classifying goals and assessing the problem, then formulating operations. So after the comes a noun, and we are talking about managers who are human beings. So can we say the most of successful managers? The massive doesn't go with people. The doesn't come with V2, more is V2. So we can go with majority. Because most, we cannot say the most of successful senior manager. Akshay, most would mean when you want to say how much of something. And here for managers, it's better to say how many. So you can say majority because we don't have a total number that there are 100 managers in the world or only 50 managers and out of them, the most of them. So most is from a fixed number, whereas majority means n number, whatever we have, out of that the majority. And majority is better to be used for human beings. So majority of the managers, they don't follow the classical model. Estimating, making a decision, and only then taking action to dash the decision. So with 2 comes first form of verb, and we need a verb for the noun decisions. What do we do once we take a decision? Apply the decision, implement, perform, or carry out. So carry out word goes for activities, perform goes for performances, and implement goes for decisions and strategies. We implement the strategies and we implement the decisions. Implement means to put them into action. Rather, in their day-to-day tactical maneuvers, these senior executives rely on what is vaguely termed intuition to manage a network of problems that require them to deal with ambiguity, inconsistency, novelty, and surprise. Sentence is absolutely complete. Problems is a noun. So what kind of problems they have to deal with? Indivisible are type of problems. Coupled is not a type of problem. Interrelated can be. Joined is more used with things which are physically joined to each other. So problems is an abstract thing. So we'll go with interrelated. Interrelated means one problem is linked to the other problem, and hence next problem is also linked to the previous 2 problems. That is called interrelated problems. Generations of writers on management dash that some practicing managers rely heavily on intuition. What is the noun? Generations. The word written before of is always the noun, and it is a plural noun. So generations are recognized, generations of writers have recognized, or generations of writers will recognize. But the thing is already recognized. That means this is what they have recognized. So we should go with have recognized because they have already performed this recognition. Generations of writers means so many writers have recognized that some practicing managers rely heavily on intuition. And then we have a blank between 2 commas. In general, such writers display a poor grasp of what intuition is. So in the previous sentence, we say that managers rely heavily on intuition. The next sentence says they don't know what is intuition. Opposites. So whenever we have opposites, then we go with however in that case. So they use intuition, but they don't know what is intuition. So but means however. Easy question, therefore comes with when you say because of this reason. Instead comes when we give substitutions. Along with is when 2 things go together, that is along with. So it was a very, very easy question. Any confusions, anybody? So 4th one is based on active passive. So yeah, if we say generations are recognized, that doesn't make sense because the work is done by writers. Whenever the person who is doing the work is given before the exam, before the blank, that is active sentence. And are will come with passive sentence. So with active sentences, go with has and have. So go through the concept of active and passive if this is the general mistake that you do. and you have to clarify that concept because it is going to come in the exam in 3 to 4 blanks easily. So writers have done the work, so that is why we'll go with have recognized. Rest of you, is it all good? Okay, question number 2 on your screens. You have 2.5 minutes and then post your answers. Let's discuss the answers for this one. So this says another example is Lyme disease, which is caused by bacteria that are dashed by deer ticks. So we are talking about a disease, and with grammatically with R comes ed form. We also know that before by comes ed form. So let's see how many we have. We have conveyed, transmitted, and communicated. Now a bacteria cannot be communicated. We don't communicate bacteria and viruses, and we don't convey. Convey is for messages, and communicate is also used for when we call somebody or we get in touch with someone through any mode of communication, that is communicated. But for bacteria and viruses, we generally say they are transmitted whenever we talk about a disease. So we say bacteria is transmitted or a virus is transmitted by, like coronavirus is transmitted by bats, as we came to know. It occurred only during the late 19th century, but has recently become prevalent in parts of the United States. This is a good sentence. So they were talking about two time periods in this sentence. First, they said that it occurred in the late 19th century, and they have used the connector but. Recently, it has become prevalent. So with two different time periods, they are also discussing how it spread in 19th century and how it is spreading recently. So recently it has become prevalent, means very common. And but means that the previous part has to be opposite of this part. What is the opposite of common? What is the opposite of prevalent? Uncommon, means it was not common in the late 19th century, but now it has become common. So this is the way you should analyze the sentences. Wherever you find a conjunction or a connector, try to analyze what is the meaning of that conjunction connector. Should I go for opposite words? Should I go for same words? Only then find out your answer. So here the answer will be sporadically based on the meaning, because sporadically means occasionally, which was not very common, something that is called sporadically. So it occurred occasionally in the late 19th century, but now it has become common in the parts of US, largely due to an increase in deer population that occurred simultaneously with the growth of the suburbs and increased outdoor recreational activities in the deer's habitat. Similarly, an dash of dengue hemorrhagic fever became an epidemic in Asia in the 1950s. So with an will come a noun and a singular noun. Can we say eruption of dengue? Eruption is used for volcanoes. Eruption of volcano. Surge means increase, but surge cannot, S cannot come with an. We need something with a vowel. Uprising is again increasing. Outbreak is what we use for diseases. You must have heard it with the coronavirus also. Outbreak of COVID-19. So outbreak is when a disease spreads at a very fast pace and it affects a large portion of the world. Then it is called outbreak. So outbreak of dengue fever became an epidemic in Asia in the 1950s. Dash ecological changes that caused this, the mosquito that transmits the dengue virus. Okay, so first they said that dengue fever became an epidemic. How or why did it become an epidemic? Was ecological changes is the reason of that spread. So when we give a reason, we always say because of this thing. So because of is always followed by the reason for the thing. So it spread in Asia because of the ecological changes. The dash is now set in the US for a dengue epidemic because of the inadvertent introduction and wide dissemination of another mosquito. After the comes a noun, and this is a phrase. The stage is set is a phrase. So please note it down, those of you who have selected place or center. Center is not set. What is set is stage is set. Otherwise, there's one more collocation, which is center stage. That's a different thing. When we say football has taken the center stage in the field of sports, that means football has taken a lot of limelight. It has become the main sport. That is when we use the word center stage. This is a different phrase. The stage is set means the conditions are ready for something to happen. The stage is set in the US means in the US, the conditions, the situations, the environment is set for dengue to come, because everything happening there is favoring the breeding of mosquito which spreads dengue fever. So that is the stage is set. So bacteria and viruses are transmitted. Sporadically means occasionally. Please note it down, the meaning of the word sporadically. It's a common word. You can find it in blanks easily. And dash of disease. Disease is always outbreak of disease. And because of with a reason. Whereas is for comparison. As per is for reference. We did this yesterday as well. And the stage is set is a collocation, or rather it's a phrase. When the situations are ready for something to happen, then we say the stage is set. Any confusions, anyone in this question? All right. Third question on your screens. You have 2.5 minutes to post your answers. All right, let's discuss the answers. Good attempt. In an attempt to improve the overall dash of clerical workers, many companies have introduced computerized performance monitoring and control systems. So whenever we talk about workers, the management will always want to improve the performance of workers, and everybody is right, because none of the other things can belong to human beings that we want to improve, but yes, we can improve the performance of workers. However, at least one study has shown that such monitoring may not be having the desired effect. In contrast to unmonitored workers doing the same work, the monitored workers and their supervisors all responded that productivity was the dash factor in assigning ratings. So with the dash factor, productivity was the factor. It's complete. What kind of factor was productivity? We cannot say serious, because if serious is the answer, it has to be productivity was a serious factor, means one serious factor. Because we have the written before the blank, we have to select a word which can be only one. So serious can be a lot of factors. Urgent should be productivity was an urgent factor. Similarly, and evaluative, because there can be other factors as well. But critical means main, and main can be only one. So if you say this is main, the other thing cannot be main. Main means there has to be chronological order. This is the main one, then the secondary things to that. That is why there is the before the blank. So productivity was the critical factor in assigning ratings. This finding suggested that their dash have been a strong correlation. Now, this finding suggested means whatever we are going to say, it has come out of this finding. So we have found this thing. So something that we have found, we cannot say might, because might means 50-50. We don't know. But we know it. We did this, we did the survey or whatever, and we have found this thing. So we cannot say we don't know. Similarly, shall is for future, but we have already performed. And could is for possibility, that there are chances that this could happen. So the answer should be should here, because we want to say this finding suggested that there should have been. Means this comes out of the finding, and that is why we are suggesting this thing. And this we have done a lot of times now, that whenever it is a suggestion, we always go with should. So this finding suggested that there should have been a strong correlation dash a worker's productivity and the overall rating. So whenever there is something with two things, we always go with between. Correlation is always between two things. That is why it is called correlation. However, dash of the relationship between overall rating and individual elements of performance clearly supported the conclusion that supervisors gave considerable weight to criteria such as attendance, accuracy, and indicators of customer satisfaction. This is most of you have done wrong. You have selected consequence of the relationship. Consequence is a negative word. Here, this sentence was not negative. They said dash of the relationship between two things. So this relationship clearly supported the conclusion that supervisors gave weight, means they gave importance to attendance, they gave importance to accuracy, and they gave importance to customer satisfaction. What is negative in giving importance to these things? And moreover, these are plural. So it should be measures. Measures of the relationship, that when we looked at the relationship of overall rating and the individual performance, then we got this conclusion that managers looked at these things. So these things can be measured. We can measure the accuracy, we can measure the attendance, we can measure customer satisfaction. These are not consequences, because these are first of all not negative words. And we needed a plural answer. There were only two plural. Attendance, accuracy, and indications are not actions. These are the measures through which we get to know if a worker is having 99% attendance, that means that worker is a good performer. Sorry, I forgot to plug in the charger. What was I saying? Yes, accuracy, attendance, and indications of customer satisfaction are not actions that somebody takes, but these are the things that we measure to look at whether a worker is doing good work or not, whether his attendance is good or not, his accuracy, the work he does, how much of that work is right or wrong. So these are the measures. Any confusions? Anybody? Performance of workers is always to be improved. It is the critical, because critical means the main factor, which can be only one. Third one, it is a suggestion, so we'll go with should. Between, because correlation is always between two things. And the last things, there was nothing negative. These were the measures that we look at when we decide whether the performance is improved or not. Okay. Look at the fourth question. You have 2.5 minutes and post your answers. All right, let's discuss the answers. So this says, dash large corporations in the US were once run by individual capitalists who owned individual stock to dominate the board of directors and dictate company policy. So dash large corporations. Akshay, who told you that they want to say not many large corporations, that you have selected a few? How do you know that there were only few corporations? So when you have options, you should first look at when do we use this word before we finalize. So a little is for uncountable, much is for uncountable, most and few can be with countable things. But a few means you want to say, you know that there were not many corporations. That's only when you can say a few. Means very less number of. But that's knowledge based. We don't know how many large corporations we have in the United States. So we can say most large corporations, means as many number there are. So out of them, most of them, 80% of them. So most large corporations in the US were once run by individual capitalists who owned enough stock, because putting such large amounts of stock dash the market would only depress its value. Whenever we put something in the market, let's say you want to sell your car. So what language do we use? Put it on the marketplace for sale. So we use on the market always when we put anything for sale in the market. And especially with the word put, we always go with on. So because putting such large stocks on the market would only depress its value, they could not sell out for a quick profit, and dash had to concentrate on improving the long-term productivity of their companies. Now here we have except, and we know the use of except. Except is when you have an exception. Everything except this thing. This is not a sentence. This is not saying everything except they had to concentrate. So that's wrong. Preferably again comes out of knowledge. How do we know that they have to prefer this thing? Because the previous sentence is telling us they could not sell. Could not means there's no possibility that they could sell it for a quick profit. Does means in this way, but in the previous sentence there is no way of doing something in this way. This is how we use does. So the answer is instead, because instead is used when we have substitutions, not to do the previous thing and yes to the next thing. Then we connect those two pieces with either rather or instead. This is the same sentence. They could not sell. This is not what they can do. And instead, this is what they have to do. So instead always goes with no to the previous thing and yes to the next thing. Today, with few exceptions, the stock of large United States corporations is held by large institutions, pension funds, for example. And because these institutions are prohibited by antitrust laws from dash a majority of the company's stock and from actively influencing a company's decision making. What form of verb they have used? ING form of verb with from. So we will also go with ING form of verb with from. How many do we have? Institutions are prohibited by the laws from gathering the stock. Gathering means collecting. Owning the stock. Stock is always owned. Stock means the shares, the debentures, these things are also called stocks. Capturing. You cannot capture. You capture fish. When you go for fishing, that is called capturing. So stocks are owned. So these laws prohibit these institutions from owning the stock and from influencing a company's decision making. They can dash their wealth only by buying and selling stock. So with can comes first form of verb, and we need the verb for the noun wealth. The wealth can be increased or decreased, because wealth means the total property, money, jewelry, whatever you have. So increase can be enhanced. Upgrade means improving the level of something. Wealth cannot be upgraded. Upgrade is you buy a better model of a phone, better model of iWatch. Those are upgradations. And improve goes with quality, but wealth is a quantitative thing. So we can enhance the wealth. only by buying and selling stock in anticipation of dash in its value. Changes, fluctuations, only two nouns, and we need noun here. Anticipation of what in the value of stock? Anticipation of changes or fluctuations. Both of them mean almost the same, but when we talk about stock, then the word fluctuations go in this context, not changes. So whenever we talk about stock market, whenever we talk about shares, so then we use the word fluctuations, not changes. Changes is used in general sense. Changes in the color of the paint is also a change, but that is not a fluctuation. Continuous increase and decrease in the value of something is called fluctuation. Right, so these are the answers. The first one, most large corporations, they were run by individual capitalists, because we need a countable word, or most can come without of as well. Most of is used when you want to say out of the total, and most is when you are not having a fixed total number. So putting comes with on instead, because it comes with when you say no to something and instead yes to the next mentioned thing. Laws cannot own the stock. We needed ing form of verb because they used ing form of verb influencing. And wealth cannot be improved, it can be increased. It's a quantitative thing. More number of more money, more properties in your name, so that is your wealth. We can increase that. And when we talk about stocks, we go with better with the word fluctuations over changes. Right? Any confusions? Could is for possibility, more than 50% chance of something, and may is for 50-50 chance. When you don't know what is going to happen, you can say it may rain. There's no yes or no that you have. It's completely 50-50. And could is can, and could can is when you are more than 50% chances of something happening, possibility of happening, then it is can and could. The fifth and the last question for reading writing blanks. You have 2.5 minutes and post your answers after that. Figures or persons? What is the difference between figures and persons? February is the birth month of two dash who loom large in the black past. And who are these two people? US President Abraham Lincoln, who issued the Emancipation Proclamation, and African American abolitionist, author and orator Frederick Douglass. Figures, not persons. What is the difference between Abraham Lincoln and any normal person? If we have to call Abraham Lincoln also a person who is a great personality, cannot be just a person to refer to. So February is the birth month of two figures. Figures here represent two known people, two popular people who everybody know about. That's why we are using figures. Dash the deaths of Lincoln and Douglas. The black community had celebrated their dash to African American liberation and civil rights on their birthdays. So we cannot say on the death because it is on their birthday that they have celebrated, not on the death. Through we did yesterday, through comes with through the tunnel when you have a way, or through the methods or ways. And death is not a method, not a way, not a tunnel. So can we say with the deaths the black community had celebrated? It should be since the deaths because we know the meaning of since as well. Since means from that time period. So since is used when something is started from that time. So they want to say since the deaths means from the time that these two died, the black community had celebrated their dash to African American liberation and civil rights. Their what to African American liberation. So there were two people, so there should definitely be a plural noun. Their contributions, because both of them have their own contributions. They did not make just one improvement or one addition. They made a lot of contributions. So since the time they died, the black community had celebrated their contributions to the liberation and civil rights on their birthdays. Means they started celebrating their birthdays as a day since the time they had died. By rooting Negro History Week in February, Woodson sought to both honor the inestimable legacy of Lincoln and Douglas and to expand an already existent celebration of the Black past to include the accomplishments of these two great individuals, but also the history. So what comes with but also is always not only and but also are the two connectors which always go together. Not only the accomplishments, but also the history and dash of Black people. We need a noun before of. Creation of Black people, achievements. These two are not nouns. So we cannot celebrate creation of Black people, but we can celebrate the achievements of Black people. Was an easy question. Not only and but also are always a collocation. What we can celebrate is achievements, not creation. Can we put singular noun with the word to, Zoya? Two person, two influencer. It has to be at least plural noun with two. And then contributions, because they're two people, so they have made the different contributions, their own contributions. And these are two known people. They are not participants in something. They are not just persons. Persons is like you and me. Everybody is a person. So when we are talking about some great personalities, we cannot just say that February is the birth month of two persons. A lot of persons were born in February, but not a lot of figures were born in February. Now, Kajal, is it clear? So figures means known personalities, popular ones, people who have done something in their life. Those are figures. We cannot say February is the birth month of two persons. Millions of people would have born in February. Right? Influencer cannot come with two. You need a plural noun. Two cannot be influencer. That was very big mistake. Even worse than selecting persons. At least persons means two things. Both of you, Zoya and Kajal, be very, very careful on singular plural. If you can skip checking singular plural with the word two, then think how many places you can skip checking singular plural where there's not 1, 2, 3, 4 written. You can skip it with 2, then you can skip it everywhere. So make a note that I always have to check singular plural before selecting my answer. Done? So here is your first question for reorders. 2 minutes to solve this and post your answers once you are done. So is it that nobody knows the meaning of 𝗙𝗵𝗊𝗊 ladder? Nobody knows this word. So if we say there are two projects A and B, there are two projects in chemistry A and B. In the latter project, latter means the second one. Former and latter. Spellings of former are wrong, Akshay. FORMER. Former means the first one, latter means the second one. So please note it down in your notes because this can come in the exam very easily. So can A be the first sentence? No, because in analyzing the latter means you should first talk about two things. Only then we can say in the second one. So the first sentence was D. This is an example. This has does. This has second one. Previously cannot be the first sentence. So although genetic mutations in bacteria and viruses can lead to epidemics, some epidemics are caused by bacteria and viruses that have undergone no significant change. So there were two things discussed here: genetic mutations in bacteria and viruses. These are the two mutations. Now you can say in analyzing the latter, in the second one, scientists have discovered the importance of social and ecological factors to epidemics. And then the third sentence, where you have finished here, that they have discovered the importance of social and ecological factors to epidemics, all the epidemics in general. And then you give example of one epidemic. So example always comes first. You talk about that. We are talking about epidemics, all of them, and then one example of epidemic. Poliomyelitis, for example, emerged as an epidemic in the United States in the 20th century. By then, modern sanitation was able to delay exposure to polio until adolescence or adulthood, at which time polio infection produced paralysis. Now here we are talking about polio infection. And then there's a sentence which only talks about infection. This is called full name and part of the name. Which infection? Polio infection. Previously, infection had occurred during infancy when it typically provided lifelong immunity without paralysis. And then you conclude, thus, conclusion of the whole story. The hygiene that helped prevent typhoid epidemics indirectly fostered a paralytic polio epidemic. So this was not a very difficult question. The latter thing you missed, thus you missed, those who have not written B as the answer. Example missed, those who have not written C as the third sentence. Infection missed. So what were you reading? Full sentences and trying to understand each and everything. It's never going to happen. Then try to read the sentences to find out what is important for you in that sentence. And these are the same rules that you have been taught in your strategy classes: full name, half name, connectors. Second question, 2 minutes, and then post your answers, please. Good question with hints again. The first sentence is B because we have a definition here. Eco-efficiency. In the bracket, they had given the definition. What is the meaning of eco-efficiency? Measures to minimize environmental impact through the reduction or elimination of waste from production processes. This is eco-efficiency. And then we can read it without brackets. Eco-efficiency has become a goal for companies worldwide, with many realizing significant cost savings from such innovations. The second sentence was C itself because we have a direct reference. This development means eco-efficiency. Peter and Goran see this development as laudable, but suggest that simply adopting eco-efficiency innovations could actually worsen environmental stresses in the future. And then you say such innovations. Which innovations? Eco-efficiency innovations. They reduce production waste but do not alter the number of products manufactured nor the waste generated from their use and discard. So this is where you finished at environmental stresses in the future. So what environmental stresses were you talking about? These are the environmental stresses. They do not alter the number of products nor the waste. So on their use and discard, this is going to be a stress. And all these three were connected together, so we put them together, and then there's one sentence. Most companies invest in eco-efficiency improvements in order to increase profits and growth, which is a bit different sentence than the three other ones because they were very connected with negative things, and this one is just why companies are investing in eco-efficiency still. So definitions always take an upper hand over the other things, and then this, that, these, those should never be missed. Examples should never be missed. The words like such as, there, this, these, those, it's, they should never be missed. They are clear hints what you need to go before and after. Let's look at the last one. Good, Zoya, well done. This looks an easy one. Third question, 2 minutes. It's fine. It's right. Finally. So the first sentence, the most general sentence out of the 4 given sentences, all of the cells in a particular plant start out with the same complement of genes. All the cells, the most general sentence. And then there's a question, how then can these cells, because we just talked about all the cells, how can these cells differentiate and form structures as different as roots, stems, leaves, and fruits, and a question mark. So whenever there's a question, we have to put the answer right after. The answer is that only a small subset of the genes in a particular kind of cells are expressed or turned on at a given time. And how this happens, this is accomplished by a complex system of chemical messengers that in plants include hormones and other regulatory molecules. So good, very well done. Suganya, I don't know what has happened to you. Putting answer first and then the question. This was the easiest. Question and then the answer and then explain the answer ahead. Good, well done all of you. Let's start with reading questions. You have the first question on the screen and 2 minutes to put your answers for this one. not celebrated. We don't use celebrated with by when we, if you celebrated with by, you will be putting the name of the community. That, for example, Diwali is celebrated by Hindus. Christmas is celebrated by Christians. That is celebrated by comes. We never say that Christmas is celebrated by Christmas tree or by decorating the Christmas tree. It's written in a different way. We decorate Christmas tree on the occasion of Christmas. There's a difference in saying the things in two different ways. The Jewish Festival of Lights is an 8-day celebration that dashed the rededication of the second temple of this. So celebration is singular. We need a verb with S, and everybody's right in selecting. This is a celebration that commemorates the rededication of the second temple. It is one of the most popular holidays in Judaism and is dashed by the lighting of menorah. So this is, when we say marked by, what we want to say this is the lighting of menorah shows, or the lighting of menorah conveys that this festival is being celebrated. So marked by is used in that sense, that this is the particular thing which is the significance, which shows the significance that we are celebrating this 8-day celebration or 8-day festival. So this is marked by the lighting, means this lighting shows the celebration. For many English speakers, this festival is also known for confusion dash the spelling of its name. So many English speakers, some of you have written confusion in the spellings, most of you have written in. It is confusion over. See, it is right to say confusion in this when we speak something. But when there are lots of people and the confusion is running from so many years, then you have to go with over, because over is used when you have the time aspect into it, and when there are more than one persons or people involved. So you can say, I have a confusion in this spelling. This is just a point of time. If you want to say, I have confusion in this spelling over the years, in the spelling, because you are the only one. But when there are a lot of people, so we say, like we use the word over with debate. People debate over the topic because it's so many people and it is going from so much time. The same way here, for many English speakers, this festival is also known for confusion over the name, over the spelling of its name. Is it Hanukkah or Chanukah? The answer is that both are correct. Hanukkah is the most widely used spelling, while Chanukah is more dashed. We cannot go with accurate because they said both are correct. So again, we cannot say one is more accurate. So we can go with traditional, because that's the only adjective we have that we can use. The Chanukah is more traditional. We cannot say Chanukah is more variations or differences or celebrated. In addition, more than 20 other dash are recorded. So 20 means plural noun. 20 other differences or variations. Better to go with variations, because differences is when we compare the things with each other and we find out the difference. Variations means we have different types of spellings. That is variations. Right? Is it clear? So celebrated more goes with celebrated in the month of October, celebrated by this community, celebrated in this year. But when you want to say what is done on this day, so this is marked by, is written in that sense. The second question, 2 minutes to put your answers. Very good. All correct answers. Well done. So when we refer to something, we always use as per or according to. So we have according to here, according to the law, a maritime country extends dash some distance from its shoreline. So extension is outward from the shore. Shore means the coastline. So you have selected outward only. Extends outward. During the 20th century, attempts to develop an international law of the sea. So how many attempts? Many attempts. We have several, which means many only. So we can go with several attempts to develop international law of sea dash under the aegis of the United Nations. So attempts is plural, are going to make, but 20th century has already passed. So we'll go with attempts have been made. And then they say the results of the third and most recent United Nations Convention on the Law of Sea were largely successful, with more than 160 countries having signed the agreement by 2017. Several countries, including US and other sea-facing coastlines, are dashed to sign the agreement. However, so however means opposite. So previous countries have already signed means these countries are yet to sign. Yet means still left to sign. So yet is something which you're hoping, but it has not been happened at the moment, but you're hoping that to happen. That is yet. So these countries are yet to sign the agreement. Very good. Any confusions, anyone? Good attempt. So here you have question number 3 on screen. 2 minutes to post your answers for this one. Let's look at the answers. So the first answer, Latin America, is a singular noun. Let's not read the comma to comma part. Latin America dash many diverse countries and peoples. We need a verb with S because it's a factual statement. So we'll stay in present tense. And in present tense, we have encompasses and consists. For consists, we need consists of, which we don't have. So we'll go with Latin America encompasses, which also means consists of or includes in it many diverse countries and peoples. Dash, most of these countries are largely Catholic and Spanish speaking. They have at least as many differences as they do dash with each other. So what we have in capitals was thus and though. Thus is used for conclusion. This is just the second statement of the paragraph, and this is not concluding the previous one. So we'll go with though. Though most of these countries are largely Catholic and Spanish speaking, thanks to the shared history that they have at least as many differences as they do dash with each other. So what noun they have used is plural noun. So we will also use plural noun because as many comes with plural. For example, if you create a sentence, I have as many sports shoes as the formal ones, as the formals. So you cannot say I have as many sports shoes as the formal. So you have to be plural again. So as many differences as they do, similarities is the only plural noun that we are having in the options. In the United States, the terms Hispanic and Latino were adopted in an attempt to loosely group immigrants and their descendants who hail this part of the world. This you can note down. Hail always comes with from. Hail from means who come from this part of the world. The terms are often used dash. So this is simultaneously or interchangeably. Simultaneously means the same way, and interchangeably means in place of each other. When we read the next part, we'll come to know that the answer was interchangeably. They wanted to say you can use Hispanic or you can use Latino in place of each other. They are almost the same. The terms are often used interchangeably, though the words can convey slightly different connotations. So though was also a hint that though means you have to go opposite after that. So only then you can say they can use in place of each other, but they have slight differences in them. Simultaneously means at the same time. So interchangeably is better to say that in place of each other, like they have used this, the hyphen. In place, you can either write this or you can write that, means the same. So this was based on whether we need a singular word or a plural word. Two of the answers were based on that, and then interchangeably based on context. Though, because thus we know how to use thus, and that was not the scenario, and hail from is a collocation. One last question for today, and then we'll wind up. Fourth question, 2 minutes. Please post your answers. Okay, let's discuss the answers. So this says a simple mechanism dash underlie the growth and self-replication of protocells. And some of you have written must. The answer is could, because must means you have to do something. A simple mechanism have to underlie the growth. So this is not something that we are giving a suggestion to someone to have to do something. There's no choice, but rather this was just a simple mechanism can perform this. Could underlie the growth and self-replication of protocells, suggests a new study. Protocells are vessels dashed by a membrane bilayer and are potentially similar to the first unicellular common ancestor. So before by, we need past form of verb, and we have bounded and covered. If you have studied biology in 9th standard, cells are always bounded by membrane layers, because membrane means just the outside, like this box. If you go with covered, covered means it should be totally covered. Even this area should be covered, like we wrap a gift, that is covering. And bounded means just the boundary, you have a layer at the so they say membrane is always a boundary. So cells are bounded by this membrane layer on the dash of relatively simple mathematical principles. So this is right, on the basis of principles, because principles are the basis on which you're doing something. The proposed model suggests that the main force dash protocell growth and reproduction is the temperature difference. So this is a collocation. The word driving and force come together. Sometimes we write driving first, saying this is the driving force, or we can write in the other way, the force driving something. But these two words come together. The main force is the temperature difference that occurs between the inside and outside of the protocell as a dash of inner chemical activity. So this is again a collocation, as a result of something. So most of you have done the covered answer wrong. Cells are always bounded by membranes, not covered by membranes, because they have membranes at just the edges of the cells. The whole of the cell is not covered by a membrane. Right? Any confusions, anyone, in this question? All good? Okay, so these were all the questions that we had to do today. Now you can enjoy your weekend. So driving force is a collocation, Manisha. Zoya, sorry. Force driving or driving force, these words always come together. Means the main reason, the main motivator, that is written as driving force, or the main force driving, pushing something, motivating something. So we don't have a class tomorrow and day after. I'll see you on Monday, and I really hope that you will watch the videos that you haven't, be it the grammar videos, be it the reorder videos, and whatever you have noted down, you will be revising. You will do some mock tests for time management, reading mocks, so that you give yourself some hard time that I have to solve within this much time. This is your homework for the weekend. Please manage your time and do these things. They will be really very helpful to you. Videos, the reorder ones are on the YouTube, and the basic grammar ones are on the LA portal. Thank you. Happy weekend to all of you as well. Take care of yourself. Things are better. The rains are better, I have heard, right? So now you can go out to at least some of the places.